So this is the pre-Michael Bay Transformers world. And so the first question I always like to ask is when and how did you first see this film, and what made it kind of stick out to you as an exciting film?
Well, I mean, the choice of picking this film for this show, because I was thinking to myself, when I couldn't do Ghostbusters, I was like, well, I mean, I suppose I could pick a proper film, like, other favorites of mine, like Jurassic Park or Back to the Future. But this is a film that I could honestly talk about for hours on end. Like, it's like this and the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Like, those were I was umming and ahhing over those two. But like this movie, I just remember vividly watching it as a child. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I'm a child of the mid '80s, so part of Transformers were just part of my upbringing. They were. I had the toys. I was watching the cartoon series, and I had the film on VHS, and I just remember just watching it a lot. And then, as you sort of grow older, you sort of move out of those sorts of things. And then in my teenage years, I sort of like maybe 14, 15, 16, so like into the early 2000s, all of a sudden, like, I found the VHS in like a cupboard. And I was like, oh man, I haven't seen this in years. I'm going to watch this now. And I watched it, and all of a sudden these memories came flooding back to me of watching it as a kid. And I was like, this is an awesome film. It's so good. Why aren't more people talking about this film? And I got to a point where I was sharing the VHS around my school with other kids, being like, you've got to see this film. You've got to see this film. It's absolutely awesome. It's 86 minutes. It won't take you long to watch. I was handing around. And it sort of coincided with Transformers itself going through a bit of a nostalgic resurgence in the early 2000s. They released the film on DVD. The TV series, the original cartoon series, got a release originally through Rhino, and then Metronome picked up the license, and they started releasing seasons 2 onwards. So it was kind of like all-encompassing in this period of time where I'd rediscovered the movie, and all the original cartoons were being released on DVD, and merchandise was being re-released, and there was new cartoon series, and there was new merchandise available, and I just found myself just becoming this sort of Transformers obsessive. And I would go on eBay and just buy all sorts of crap from from the 80s that was Transformers related. Like, I bought the board game, which I think was by Milton Bradley, and it is diabolically poor. Like, it is. To call it a board game is such a stretch. Like, it is really bad. But I lapped it all up, and I watched the movie all the time. I don't know why. I just kept watching it, especially when I got it on DVD. And I just watched it on a loop. And it's funny, I was watching it again this morning for the purposes of doing this podcast, and I don't even need to look at the screen while it's on, because I know it frame for frame. I know it pretty much line for line. I could probably tell you the film verbatim and do all the voices, which is part of the fun of it, I suppose. And I wrote an article for Flickering Myth on its 30th anniversary, and I tried to track down the writer, and I spoke to Stan Bush, who wrote some of the songs for it, and Vince DiCola, who did the score. And I just kind of like immersed myself again in the brilliance of the film, maybe, when it was released on Blu-ray, because there's been loads of releases of this, and I own them all. And the Blu-ray release is very, very nice. It's a lovely little steelbook. But it was wicked being able to sit down with like the director and speak to Stan Bush on the phone and tell them like, oh man, you guys really shaped my childhood with this film.
Yes, I think so. I watched this film for the first time today, and I think maybe being a 24-year-old man is perhaps the wrong time to experience this for the first time.
Yeah, I probably imagine so.
Yes.
I was so curious to know what you thought of this. As I was coming into the office this morning, I was like, Tom's probably going to have to go out and buy this film. Yeah. I wonder what it's going to be like to watch this for the first time with fresh eyes.
Well, I mean, I paid 50p for the DVD, and I don't feel ripped off, so that's fine.
It's all right then, as long as I haven't wasted any money on you.
But it was a strange experience. I was watching it the whole time and going, if I was 8, this would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still think like there's some parts of it I think that really stand up. I think it looks gorgeous. I think the animation on it is really, really nice. At times there are a couple of like animation goofs here and there. But I think what I love most about this film is that it's a toy commercial. It is like, that is all it is there to do. It is there to advertise and sell you new toys. But yet it takes itself so seriously that even though it is a 86-minute long toy commercial. It is still like they sat down and was like, I mean, yeah, we're selling toys, but let's try and make a proper film though that people will enjoy. And I think there's a lot of heart to the film in that sense.
Yeah, I think there is quite a lot going on in amongst all of the action scenes. Like, the whole film is action scenes. It's quite incredible. It's quite incredible. Every time I think it's stopped, the rock music score kicks in again. Like, oh, here we go. No, I guess we're going. It's like that musical score is so reliable. It's like every time that weird sex music kicks in the room. Like, oh, I know what I'm getting now.
Yeah, we know where we are now.
Yes. But it's strange. Like, I found myself watching it, not knowing the voice cast and going, well, that's Orson Welles. That's Eric Idle from what?
Yeah. It is like, I mean, when I rediscovered it in my teenage years, and you kind of look at that voice cast, and as you say, like Orson Welles, Eric Idle, Leonard Nimoy, Judd Nelson, Robert Stack, and all this, and you're like, how in the hell did these people all sign up for this film? Like, how do they all get convinced to do what is essentially a toy advert? And it's really impressive that the Transformers was such a thing in the 80s that these big names attached themselves to it. Also, I mean, Orson Welles did say that it was his last ever film role, and he was quite disparaging about it before his passing. But everyone else seems to have quite enjoyed their time. And Leonard Nimoy in interviews said that he rather enjoyed voicing Galvatron.
Yeah, I think it would be a fun job to do.
Absolutely.
I think the thing with me for it was, I think, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about Detective Pikachu, and I think in the way that you were perhaps slightly too old for the Pokemon wave, I was slightly too young for the Transformers wave.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then by the time the Michael Bay stuff started coming out, I was perhaps a little old for it, and then the Michael Bay stuff is terrible.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, the best thing, you know, I enjoyed this one, you know, for what it was. And I think one of the reasons I enjoyed it was because the plot and the action makes sense in a way that the Michael Bay ones never have. Like, if you asked me to explain what happens in the last 45 minutes of The Last Night, the most recent one, I would have no idea.
I haven't seen any of the Bay movies. So I saw the first one and the second one. The second one is one of the worst films I've ever seen. It is diabolically awful. I don't think I've seen Dark of the Moon, but I did go to the press screening for Age of Extinction. That's the fourth one, isn't it? So I went to the press screening of that one, and it was on the IMAX in Waterloo. Yes. And it was like a 2.5-hour headache, like on IMAX, just so loud and big. And I was like, oh, I don't want to watch this anymore. I haven't seen The Last Night, or whatever it was called. Was it called Last Night?
Yes.
Yes, it was. Oh, what a stab in the dark that was. But like, it's funny. I was thinking about this on the way here, that the Michael Bay Transformers, the 2007 one, was made for the exact same reason that this one was. So like, this movie was made because Hasbro wanted to sell toys, and they had a lineup of toys that they wanted to sell. And they were like, okay, well, why don't we make a movie with all of these new characters? We'll kill off all the old characters so that we can essentially, what I want people to come out of this film saying is little Johnny to turn to his mum and dad and say, I know what I want for Christmas. Like, that's why this film exists. And the Michael Bay movie was made for the exact same reason, yet that feels really gross. And this one doesn't feel gross at all. Maybe it's because this one doesn't feature like women grossly being filmed bent over cars.
Yes, I think that's a great deal to do with it.
like this film was made for kids, right? And so was the Michael Bay one, and yet that just feels so sleazy and awful and gross. And this one just feels like a genuinely lovely, nice movie that kids can enjoy.
Yes, and I think, you know, if we're at the point with these movies that they're now so long, bloated and stupid that, you know, I've got a university degree and I couldn't make head nor tail of what was going on in the story. I mean, you know, kids are intelligent and they watch movies in an intelligent way, but I don't think many of them were working out that plot. No. And I mean, it's interesting because The Last Night introduces Unicron for the first time in the...
Oh, that's right, it does,
in the live-action movies.
How was Unicron? Because, as I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't make any comparisons to it.
You know, vaguely comprehensible, I suppose.
I mean, that's about the best thumbs up you can give it, really.
I think, and I may be mistaken on this because I don't remember any of it, but I believe that Earth is Unicron.
Oh,
if I remember rightly.
Well,
I may be way off base on that, but there's something to do with Stonehenge being crucial in Unicron. I don't know. It's baffling. And
M. Night Shyamalan, eat your heart out with this twist.
And the British woman character in it is a professor of English literature whose name is Vivian Wembley. So.
Oh, Michael Bay.
So that's the level we're working on.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's so. I mean, I hated the Michael Bay movie when I went to go see the 2007 one, because like it was really at a point because 2007, so I just finished university and I was still like massively like hardcore into my Transformers fandom. You know, watching the cartoon series, this and another, trying out like all the Japanese stuff, importing Japanese stuff, because like there was a Japanese series that didn't get released here, but it was dubbed by some Japanese students into English. So I remember getting all of those and watching them. And the dub it's hilarious, to say the least. There's a moment where one of the characters says, "The next time we meet, I will be there." Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty sound logic. You likely will be. So I was like really hardcore into my fandom. And then the 2007 movie came out and I just watched it. And it was clearly the wrong thing to think at the time, but I was like, well, this isn't my Transformers. This is not the Transformers that I wanted to see. The designs don't look as cool. The action's just nonsense, and the characters aren't the same. And it was a really like, you know, a childish way to look at it, being like, well, it's not my Transformers, so clearly it's rubbish. You know, I kind of carried that over into the second one and the subsequent ones. But now as I've got a bit older and I kind of hit my 30s, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go back and watch some of these movies that I just dismissed because I was an idiot in 2007. I had this sort of childlike mentality of this you know, adult boy going like, well, you know, throwing my toys out the pram. So I rewatched it, and no, they are still terrible.
Yeah,
like it's just terrible for different reasons now. I don't hate it because I don't like the way that Optimus Prime looks. I hate it because it's just a bad movie.
Yes. I mean, one of the things when I was watching this one, I think I was sort of expecting it to be a sort of, I don't know, an introduction to the Transformers world, I guess. And then I'm watching the first 20 minutes and Optimus Prime and Megatron are both killed in the first act. I'm like, what?
It was so amazing because, yeah, as I said, like the whole purpose of this film was that Hasbro had this new line of toys they wanted to sell. But the problem was that all the characters had been established in the TV series. They were still filling up the shelves, and kids have already bought those toys, so they don't need to buy them again. And if they're kind of front and center of the movie, then the kids will just want to buy those toys, but they've already got them, so they can't buy new toys. So essentially, the whole point of this film was, let's kill off every toy that we previously sold so we can sell all these brand new ones. Which is a bold move, because when I'm watching this as a kid, I'm not thinking I want to buy new toys. I'm like, why did you kill Optimus Prime?
No,
why did you kill Megatron?
Yeah, I was sat there like, who the hell is Ultra Magnus and why do I care?
And Hot Rod. And they just get dropped on you and just be like, now buy these toys. And Galvatron comes in and like the Sweeps and Scourge and buy these toys. And they're like, and all the characters that I liked, like Starscream, Megatron, Prime, they all just get offed. Yes. Like there's a scene. This is probably like the third or fourth scene in the film when Megatron and like his goons of the Decepticons burst into the ship and they kill Ironhide and they kill Brawn and they kill Sideswipe, and there's just like these litany of characters that they just kill, and in gruesome manners as well. Like these are brutal deaths, and then Megatron says, "This was almost too easy." Like, yeah, there is
something quite horrible about the way they die in this. Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on why it's so horrifying, but
yeah, it's really gruesome. There's no blood and guts or anything, but when they kill Sideswipe and he's got like the smoke pouring out of his mouth, I'm like, crikey, it's a kid's film. And so like they just kill off all these characters and just try to make you care about these new ones. And you spend so much time with them. And by the end of it, and it's really funny, like I think that Hasbro didn't realize what they had with Optimus Prime and why kids related to him and why kids looked up to him. Because they eventually brought him back into the cartoon series. Season 3 and 4, or Season 3 is set after the film. And it is all about these new characters with Hot Rod leading and, you know, facing off against Galvatron. But no one really paid much attention to them, to the point where they had to bring back Optimus Prime to be like, here is Optimus Prime. Honestly, he's back again.
Yes, and that's obviously the last time that would happen.
Yeah. And I heard another rumor as well, and I couldn't quite get a confirmation on this when I was doing my interviews, but the at the same time that this was being made and was going to be released, G.I. Joe also had a movie coming out, an animated movie that was a spin-off from their animated series. And there was a rumor floating around, like amongst, the production, that they were going to kill off Duke, which was their lead character. So they thought, well, we need to kill off Optimus Prime because our film's getting released first, because that will seem like, then it will just look like they've copied us. And then they killed Optimus Prime in this one, and then it turns out in the G.I. Joe movie, they didn't kill Duke. So I don't know if that's true. I've tried to get confirmation on that, but it's sort of those rumors that have been sort of percolated online over the years. But it's a kind of a shame that, like, all the characters that I like do get offed. But I like Cup, and I like Hot Rod, and I like the adventure they go on. I just think that I would probably enjoy that adventure so much more if it was Jazz and Bumblebee who would just disappear. They're there for a little bit, and then they just disappear and have to be saved at the end when they go to Unicron.
Yes, but I mean, the benefit of foregrounding Hot Rod and Cup is you get the brilliant kangaroo court shark execution stuff, which is my favourite part of the movie. I mean, I love killer sharks in films, and these ones are robots too, so that's all the boxes. The
Sharkticons are so good, and I remember as a child, and even to this day, it still confuses me. Because, yeah, as you say, it's this kangaroo court scene, and you've got the quintessons up there, like, holding court and being like, are they guilty or innocent? And they always say innocent, but then kill them. And I was like, well, surely you mean guilty then? Like,
yes.
Did you misunderstand how court works? Or is the joke that because they say innocent, they still get killed?
Yes.
But I'm not quite sure on that one. But it's a wicked scene, though. And that is perfectly punctuated by the score of this movie, which is one of the other reasons why I absolutely adore this film. The soundtrack is awesome. It is pure 80s rock and metal, and like that scene is scored to Hunger, and it's a wicked track, and it works so brilliantly with, like, when the Hot Rod and Cup get dropped into the pool and they transform and then they battle against all these Sharkticons. It's awesome.
Yeah, the Transformers in this film actually transform. It's amazing.
And use that to their advantage.
Yes.
It's not just a gimmick. Like, they actually, like, to your point, there's when they're standing on the bridge before they get executed, they're like, talking to each other going like, I can't transform. Like, that's, as characters, that's their way out of this. It's not just something to do because I like cars. They're transforming because that's their way to get out.
Yes, it's not like the Michael Bay films where they just stay in sort of humanoid form, just punching each other for 2.5 hours.
Unless they've got to travel somewhere, in which case now we transform because we've got to drive. Got a helicopter shot we need to get.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the most surprising thing for me was the fact that Bumblebee's in it for about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And given that everything I know about Transformers is from the Michael Bay films, Bumblebee is like the most important thing.
He was the most important thing in the series as well, but it's again that thing, he's a victim of we want to sell new toys. Because he gets offed, not offed as much, but he gets offed in like season 3 of the show, but he gets morphed into a new version called Goldbug. And that, again, was just like, well, we've got a new toy. It sort of looks like Bumblebee. We'll just turn Bumblebee into Goldbug. And it's a shame. And, like, yeah, you're right. That Bumblebee, he's got his own spin-off movie coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And here, barely mentioned. Like, he's in, like, 3 scenes at most.
Yeah, Bumblebee is a Transformers movie with a wrestler in. It's like all of your interests.
And it is. But John Cena was in that movie. And that actually is a film. So, again, like, I'm not a big fan of the Michael Bay stuff, in particular because I don't like the way that the Transformers look. And when they announced a Bumblebee spin-off movie, I was like, I'm not really bothered. It's a prequel. Okay, it's set in the 80s. Okay, I mean, maybe my interest a little bit peaked. When they released that trailer with all the G1 designs, and like there's Soundwave there looking like Soundwave, and Shockwave is there looking like Shockwave, and Optimus Prime's the big, bulky Optimus Prime G1 design. I watched that trailer and I turned to my girlfriend and was like, oh, we're going to see that opening night. Like, I have to go see this movie now. That's how you get your jaded, cynical Transformers fans to go see your film. You make them look like the G1 designs.
Yes, I mean, that looks like a very fun film. The difference, I guess, in this one is the beauty of this one in many ways is they didn't feel the need to give us a human character to latch onto. There are humans around, but there isn't a Shia LaBeouf or a Marky Mark to...
No, because we're here to see Transformers. Like,
Yes.
I've got Spike and I've got Daniel, but I'm not asked about them.
Yes.
Like, Daniel is like the kid avatar that they sort of feel the need to put into these sorts of things. But like, I'm not like, he's not the main focus, as you say. Like, the main focus is on the Transformers and their civil war, and their war across the galaxy and things like that, and their battle against Unicron. Because it's a film called The Transformers. It's not called The Humans featuring the Transformers.
No one's come for Cade Yeager and Vivian Wembley.
Excellent remembering of Marky Mark's name in that one.
It's a name too stupid to forget, I think.
Crikey. So I love the fact that they're front and centre. But again, I suppose they had to be front and centre. There's toys to be sold.
Yes, exactly. No one's buying a toy of the humans.
And even though they're in Transformers suits, but still no one's buying those toys. They want to buy the Ultra Magnus, Ultra Magnus is basically, it's Optimus Prime, but again.
Yes, yes.
Even when Hot Rod later becomes Rodimus Prime, he's Optimus Prime, but again, it's just a slightly different design on the original toy we had.
Yes, I do confess to, particularly in the early stages of this film, when there are lots of them, I was like, which one are you again?
Well, I think that is like, if it's my main criticism I have of this film, because it's this big toy advert, and it's so interesting to chat to someone who's watched it for the first time, particularly someone of your age who's probably a bit more, they're kind of tuned into the way that a film is structured, and that is that it is an information dump. Like the first 5-10 minutes, because you have like your opening scene where Unicron destroys the planet. And then you get the cool intro with Lion doing a metal version of the Transformers theme. Then you get the Star Wars crawl, which is an information dump in itself.
Yes, I loved the Star Wars crawl, actually. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
And that's not in every cut of the film either. There are some cuts which gives you like a credit roll, and it will tell you like Judd Nelson and Leonard Nimoy and things like that. And then it will go to it is the year 2005. The treacherous Decepticons have taken over the robots, etc. And then after that, every scene is just like exposition. They're all dead. Character. It's just like the first 10 minutes of this film, I can only imagine as a new viewer, is overwhelming.
Oh, it's mad, because it's like Optimus Prime's there. You're like, oh, okay, it's fine. I know who this guy is. And he's like, Ironhide, go to get the Energon from the Autobots. What? What's he talking about, Optimus?
But as a someone who grew up watching the cartoons, I'm like, okay, yeah, and I'm in. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can only imagine like the parents that were dragged to see this movie, which going like, I have no idea what's going on. Who's a what now? What's a cube? What's an energon?
Like, even the scenes later on when they're meeting the other people and they're giving Energon gifts and they're doing the universal greeting, I'm like, what?
The universal greeting is one of my favorite things in this film. Barney, Guana, Reek, Ninibon. It's such a weird thing to have in your film. And I remember CM Punk, when he used to shout, it's clobbering time, for our new listeners, he's a wrestler. He used to shout, it's clobbering time as his entrance. But someone once asked him, what do you shout when you bellow out in your entrance? And he always used to say, Barney, Guana, Reek, Ninibon. It's just like, it's the universal greeting. That's what I'm always saying. Oh man, it's such a great film. The scenes on Junkion with the Eric Idle Junkion robots is so weird, because they have a battle and then like, I don't know, 40 seconds later they're dancing and they're having a party. To Weird Al Yankovic of all people.
Yes, is it Weird Al Yankovic? I thought it was.
Yeah, it's Weird Al Yankovic, a track called Dare to Be Stupid.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but I thought I recognised the vocal. What an odd film that you've made me watch this morning.
You are welcome. And you will have, like, because to this day, I have the soundtrack on in my car a lot. To the point where, like, things like The Touch, which is essentially like the main theme of the movie, which is a brilliant song, might be my favorite song ever, and Dare, which is the other Stan Bush track in the film, they are songs that I listen to so often. My wife, who's never seen this movie before, doesn't know what a Transformer is, knows the words to those songs.
Hang on, you made me watch this movie and you haven't even made your wife watch it.
My wife will never watch this movie.
She promised to love you forever, and yet.
Oh, and yet she will never watch this movie. I can't even get her to watch the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Like, if I can't get her to watch that, there's not a cat in hell's chance. Even if I say it's only 86 minutes, like, it'll be over before you know it. And because because it is wall-to-wall action, it doesn't even feel like it's 86 minutes long. It feels like it's about half hour because there's no let-up in the film. It is just scene, 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 scene.
It's an odd way of constructing a movie. It's very much the Mad Max Fury Road of animated Transformers movies.
Yeah, why stop to chat about things? Let's have more action. We've got a final to get. We've got 86 minutes. We need to maximise our time here.
Yeah, come on, guys. Let's take this seriously. Orson Welles is in this film.
So, I mean, yes, the soundtrack's great, and I know my wife, she listens to the songs, and I think now she's like, these are very good songs. And I was interviewing Stan Bush, the guy who recorded The Touch and Dare for the film, and he said that he did a concert once, and when he was doing sort of a meet and greet afterwards, someone came up to him who told him that he was a lawyer, like a professional lawyer, and a very well-paid lawyer by all accounts. But he says every case, before he goes into trial, he always listens to The Touch, and that's his motivation to go in and win a case.
He should go a step further. He should have someone play it on their phone as he walks in, like a sort of entrance theme.
Well, back in my teenage and my early 20s years, when I used to make short films with my friends, we would always listen to The Touch before we started shooting. That was always our ritual. Is we would listen to The Touch and we would sing along with it, because it's such it's a song that just amps you up. It's just it's awesome. Like, it is start to end a perfect song, and it just makes you want to go out and take on the world and not destroy everything, but just rule everything. It's so good. And there's a band that I've recently discovered called the Cybertronic Spree, who do covers of all the tracks from the Transformers and some other tracks from 80s cartoons and stuff, but they're all in Transformers cosplay. So the bass player is dressed like Hot Rod, the lead singer is dressed like RC, and they're all dressed like Transformers. But I've watched their live performances, and it's impressive, A, because they're doing it in costume, but B, it makes me really want to go see them live. So I'm like, this looks like the most fun. You look at this crowd, and they are on their feet and just having a whale of a time, because The Touch is an incredible song, and Dare is an incredible song, and this is important to us.
Well, I think we've taught the ear off Transformers the movie at this point. So
I could talk about it for a while. Hours I could talk about this film.
I'll leave you in the room to do that with yourself, I think.